But God will only deal with you so long. So, like I said at the beginning, if God's dealing with you about something tonight, don't leave here with it. You don't have to leave here with it. You can come up here and you can give it to the Lord, and He will take care of all your needs. But lying there on the floor, blind, naked, and in this mess, God looked down and He said, I can use this. And He picked me up. And had He not done that, I wouldn't be here today. I would have already passed on, and who knows where I would have went because of where I was at in my life. But the Lord wanted to use me, and I'm gonna spend the rest of my life. I'm 29 years old. I'm gonna spend the rest of my life serving the Lord, and that's the only thing I'm worried about. On March 23rd of 2008, I went to church at Gethsemane on Main Street, and I got saved. The girl I was with at the time, she didn't want to go, and I just picked up my dad, and he was ready to go. And I said, Dad, they're not going to go. I said, what do you want to do? I said, I think I'm just going to stay here. And he's like, Joe, you got to be the head of your household. You got to be the example. You got to get up and go. And I'm like, okay, let's go. So we went to church, and I went up front, and I rededicated myself to Christ, and I got saved. And I left church, and I was so on fire for the Lord. I went out, and I was ready to save the world, but I knew I had to fix me first. So I went, and I had needles in 3 different locations in Evansville. So depending on where I was at, I could stop at a certain place and use. And I went through all those away. And then I went and got my meth making kit, and I went and threw that away. Before, when I would quit, I would always keep it in the closet and put it back in the closet. I'll leave it over there, and I won't use it anymore, but just in case, I'll have it. And I threw it all away. I was done. The same day I got saved, at the same, almost to the hour, actually probably to the second, they were discovering the remnants of an old meth lab at my grandmother's residence. And whenever that happened, I didn't find this out until 3 days later. I'm living for the Lord now. I'm doing good. I'm doing the right thing. And then I find out, hey, they found this meth lab down there. You're probably going to be going to prison. And I'm thinking, why, God? Why? I just went up there and dedicated myself to you. I turned my life over to you. I got rid of everything. It's done. Why is this happening now? And I thought, man, Satan's attacking me. Why are you letting Satan attack me, God? But I didn't figure it out until later that it was God wanted me to get deeper in Him, in my relationship with Him. And He wanted me to go walk where I walked so I could come here and talk to you folks about it. So I could go out and talk to the youth about it. So I could maybe talk to somebody that's been there and down that road and help them. The devil means things to harm us, but God turns them into good things. And it's only by our will, our free will that He gave us, that we can choose to do so. April 12th, so I got saved on March 23rd, and then April 12th I went to prison. And I chose to seek that relationship with God, to get... God wants a close personal relationship with each and every person out here tonight. He wants you to just talk to Him like you was talking to your friend. He wants you to fellowship with Him. He wants to spend some time with you. When you're alone at your house and you think, man, I'm all alone and there's nothing to do and there's nobody around, the Lord is right there with you. He's just waiting for you to say, hey, how you doing? He's right there with you in the pew. He's right up here with me on the stage. He's everywhere. But when I went to prison, I found favor in the eyes of the guards. I first went to the State Farm where people were walking around with blood gushing out of their head, going to the medical building, and there was people getting hurt. The one guy got boiling oil poured on his face while he was sleeping. Very dangerous place, but I never got hurt. The Lord protected my footsteps the whole way through there. And then I went to this CLIF program at Miami Correctional Facility, and it's a treatment program. I lived in there for 18 months, and I learned about my addiction. I knew to beat the adversary, you got to learn about the adversary. And it's the same way with your relationship with God. To beat the devil, you got to practice the scriptures. You got to get in this word. And if you don't get in the word, this is called the sword. This is our sword. And it's the sword of the Spirit. And it says our battle is not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against rulers of darkness of this world, and spiritual wickedness in high places. Wherefore, take unto you the whole armor of God, so you can stand in the evil day. And having done all to stand, stand therefore, having your loins girded about with truth, and your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace. Above all, taking the shield of faith, and the helmet of salvation, and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Praying always all prayers and supplications in the Spirit, that the utterance may be given to me, that I may boldly open my mouth and make known the mysteries of the gospel of peace. That's something that I memorized because that's a prayer I say every day. Every day I wake up, I put on that armor, because every day Satan don't want me to get up here and do this. He don't want me to get up and go to work. He wants me to put that needle back in my arm, but you know what? I'm not going to. I prayed to God and while I was in prison, and I said, God, don't let me have any diseases from this needle abuse. And you know, I promise I'll serve you the rest of my life. How many times have you prayed something, you promised God something, and then you didn't follow through? I know I did plenty of times. Plenty of times I said, God, if you just get me out of this corner, if you just get me out of this place where I'm at right now, this car wreck, if you let me pay this guy $100 so he don't call the cops because I don't have a license, man, if you just get me out of this, God, I'll serve you. And I've done that so many times, but this time God said, you have no diseases. I don't have hepatitis, I don't have AIDS, I don't have any diseases at all. And the Lord protected me from that. I beat meth by the power of God and by the blood of Jesus Christ. And that's the only way I beat it. I still do attend NA meetings down here at the General Baptist Church twice a week. And I go there to share my story with others that may be hurting. I go there because I'm a Christian and I like to exhibit Christ-like behavior. And in doing that, Christ was asked one time, he said, what's the 2 greatest commandments? And he said, love the Lord your God with all your heart and all your soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. Now, it's sometimes hard for us to even love ourselves. So if it's hard for you to love yourself, how are you going to love your neighbor as yourself if you don't love yourself? And if you're stuck in addiction, you're not loving yourself. You're killing yourself. And I can stand here and talk about all the different times that I had brushes with death, but that's not why I'm up here. I'm up here as a living witness to what God can do in your life. It says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. The same was in the beginning with God. All things were made by Him, and without Him nothing was made that was made. In Him was life, and life was the light of men. And that light shined in the darkness, and the darkness comprehended not. I was that light in the darkness in prison. I was the guy walking around with a smile on his face. And I met several other guys that walked around with that same smile, that same glow, and I would see it in them. They didn't have to have a Bible under their arm to know that they were serving the Lord. And that's where I wanted to be. I'm like, I want to be like that guy. I want to be like that guy. And eventually, I'm like, I just want to be like Jesus. I know it's impossible, but I can try.